guess Mr. Ellington said, listen, do you know anybody who can read the show? Because now it's the war. Many of the heavyweights in the Army, like Joe Jones and Sidney Catlett and them. So he called me. And I went to the New York Paramount. And I was just so overwhelmed with the pageantry, and I met Mr. Ellington, who was very cordial, and then he sent me down with the ballet to in the New York Paramount. The stage was built so that when the band hit, it rose up to the audience. It came up like this. And Duke Ellington's band was set up kind of like a pyramid. The drummer was at the apex, and Mr. Ellington was down there where everybody could see him. And they had a show out there. And of course, Sonny Greer had everything in the world as a kid in his drum set. He had mallet instruments, chimes, timpani, drums. And when I got down there in that pit before the orchestra and looked through for drum music, there wasn't a sheet of music anywhere in sight. I was scared to death because I couldn't do anything but read music really at that time. And I began to look at Cootie Williams and all these great people, and they just are just there. I guess they were saying, I wonder why the boss got this kid, you know. Anyway, I was panicked. So Mr. Ellington now comes on stage, and everybody's set now before the stage rises up to the audience. And he must have looked up at me and seen the panic in my face, and he smiled and said, all you have to do is keep one eye on me and one eye on the act, and everything will be all right. And I realized he was a great conductor because I did that, and he just gave me everything just a minute before what happened out there on that stage. Victor said to us, tomorrow night I'm going to bring down here the world's greatest musician. Okay, you know, we've been jamming now with Praz and everybody else. Victor lived in Harlem. He played cornet and violin. Good musician. And so the next night, sure enough, he brought down Charlie Parker, unassuming, you know, nobody you just look at. And during the jam session part between shows, when Bird came in to play with us, he played Cherokee. And he turned around to the rhythm section and asked for stop time, you know, like, pop, diddle-little-little-little-little. And it was fast, diddle-little-little-little. Well, you know, we ran through it. But I don't think any of us realized what happened at that moment, or what was happening at that moment. And then Charlie Parker went back to Kansas City, and then we heard those first records that came from Jay McShann, like Hootie Blues and those things. And then we began to say, wow, you know, something new is happening. The funny thing about Charlie Parker, at least from what I observed, was that he seemed to me to have realized that he had accomplished something. So, even though he was young, life was always at a party. You know, everything was let's drink and be happy and be merry. Because when Miles and I were working with Charlie Parker, we would practice all day to get ready for this gentleman. And he'd come on the stage, and you know, as I say, you work from 9 to 4. So the first set, not too many people are in the club. And so, you know, his first piece would be his warm-up piece. It would be the fastest thing we performed for that night. And it would just destroy Miles and myself. You know, I'd be puffing and blowing. Miles would be, you know, it would just reduce us to nothing. He just breezed through it. And the rest of the evening, he would deal with Embraceable You, Slow Boat to China. But that was his way, because he'd hang all night. He'd be out on the town. I'm exclusive now. The drummer on 52nd Street, Kenny Clark, is in Europe, and Shadow Wilson's in, you know. So my head was opening up. Big head, so I'd come to the rehearsals a little late. And I remember coming to one rehearsal, the Three Deuces, and Charlie Parker was sitting on the drums, and this is the first time I was introduced to what drummers now call separation. And he had a name for everybody. Since we're in the war and I wore these thick horn rimmed glasses, I was Tojo. And he was sitting behind my drums, and he said, Tojo, can you do this? And he did a quarter note on the bass drum, a Charleston beat on the sock cymbal, a shuffle rhythm on the left hand, and the rhythm, the jazz beat, chick-cha-chang with the right hand, all at the same time, comfortably, with a saxophone across his lap. It's impossible to do unless you practice it. So I walked up he got up and I walked over to the stage, and I attempted to do it, and I knew I had to practice it, and now he put me back to where I should have been all the time.